Welcome to Part 58, my report on the McCarrick Report by Patrick Parson. Still on Chapter 19, information about McCarrick's past conduct received during his tenure as Archbishop of Washington, 2001 to 2006. We continue Part B, McCarrick's public revelation of a prior anonymous accusation and journalists' investigations regarding the Beach House, April to May 2002. We have seen that Cardinal McCarrick has publicly acknowledged accusations, but he has relieved everyone by insisting there was nothing to them. Clergy sexual abuse had become a national scandal. And when Pope John Paul II attended a meeting with the American prelates on April 23, 2002, he said, "Like you, I too have been deeply grieved by the fact that priests and religious, whose vocation it is to help people live holy lives in the sight of God, have themselves caused such suffering and scandal to the young. Because of the great harm done by some priests and religious, the Church herself is viewed with distrust, and many are offended at the way in which the Church's leaders are perceived to have acted in this matter. The abuse which has caused this crisis is by every standard wrong and rightly considered a crime by society. It is also an appalling sin in the eyes of God." Well, I would have to say Pope John Paul II pegged that pretty well. Now, at the same time, American church leaders, our bishops and cardinals, expressed a commitment to a mandatory national policy addressing sexual abuse, but they did not agree on a zero-tolerance policy. McCarrick was one of those who happened to question the wisdom of such a zero-tolerance policy. Now, I have previously mentioned Susan Gibbs, the Executive Director for Communications for the Archdiocese of Washington. I had not actually realized the fact that, as the report mentions in this chapter, she was McCarrick's spokeswoman, which might help explain why McCarrick's trips to the beach house did not seem unusual to her. On April 23rd or 24th, in St. Peter's Square, a reporter for the Newark Star-Ledger, David Gibson, handed her a list with the names and telephone numbers of 7 former seminarians from Seton Hall University who were allegedly abused as adult seminarians by McCarrick at the New Jersey Beach House. The note stated, "The 6th man got to sleep with the jockey-clad prelate. It seems that overt sex may not have always been part of the sick ritual, but seminarians were abused." After returning to Washington, spokeswoman Gibbs had a second meeting with McCarrick, this time about the list. Denying any misconduct, McCarrick also said that he didn't go anywhere with them that he remembered. How's that for a reassuring response from a cardinal? Susan Gibbs contacted 2 former communication directors who had worked with McCarrick in Newark, and one of them told her that he had heard talk that McCarrick had been imprudent at the beach house, but nothing more. Gibbs asked a priest secretary who had been to the beach house, who told her that he had never seen anything improper and had not experienced anything himself with McCarrick, which seems to be a common response of McCarrick's priest secretaries. Now the reporter who had given her the list, David Gibson, called everyone on the list, but got only non-responses, declinations to speak, or denials that anything had happened. His lack of success led him to consider the investigation to be at a dead end. When asked later about the list, Gibson could not remember who had provided it to him. Other reporters also got into the act, but were unable to find anyone willing to talk to them about McCarrick's possible abuses. We will look into possible reasons in the next segment why some of them may have been unwilling to talk. But there is always something that we should be willing to say, and that is talking directly to God while asking for the salvation of not just ourselves, but also everyone else through the Fatima prayer. O my Jesus, forgive us our sins, save us from the fires of hell, and lead all souls to heaven, especially those in most need of thy mercy.